right, welcome back to the Burglar Report. Bible study version. Bible Dave, that's me. I'm your host. And I still do not think I know how to tie a tie properly. In any case, hopefully that's all you stare at for the next 20 minutes. This show is a Bible study for the skeptic, if you will. And I am not skeptical of the scriptures. I am skeptical of the delivery of the church's control and manipulation of people, which is fine. Probably very necessary 1,000 years ago, when everybody was dying from all kinds of stuff, and you needed some scriptures to set some guidelines for daily living, in a sense. But we are in the age of Aquarius. Information is out there, and a lot of people are waking up to what's going on. So, doing a verse-by-verse study through Genesis currently, and I like to add in my contemporary style or kind of commentary. Very scientifically minded, very open to a lot of different texts and religions. So here we go. I'm not sure where we left off. We are in... Oh, we did Tower of Babel. And now we are... Yeah, okay, we did Tower of Babel. Sure did, didn't we? Call of Abram, chapter 12, Genesis. Oh, and this is New Living Translation. My wife's Bible. This thing's got some miles on it, you know what I'm saying? Been through this thing quite a bit. Oh, so we left off with the Tower of Babel. Everyone's coming together. And God said, no you don't. So we spread them all across all around the world. Different languages, different cultures. Which lends credence to my association of Abram, who becomes Abraham, once he's blessed, with a Brahmin priest from ancient India. We are getting into who is Abraham, the beginnings of Abraham. And so in ancient India, there were priests, Brahmin priests, and they would do the rituals, a lot of the rituals and their teachings and their baptism kind of things in the Sarasuri River. So Abraham and Sarah, Brahmin priest, Sarasuri River. Could be a connection, you know, if you're talking about the Tower of Babel, where people all spoke one language, had one culture, possibly one religion, belief system per se, and then you get spread around, words change, dialects develop, languages change. So with everything being an oral tradition of storytelling, it's very well possible that carried on through to a different culture. You know, the Jewish culture perhaps. Maybe something before that. I mean, the story of Jesus, born of a virgin, resurrected, performed 10 miracles, story of Horus, out of Egypt. And before that, the story of Krishna out of ancient India. So these stories are often reused or retold. So the Tower of Babel could have easily been part of, these people spreading all over the earth, things changing word-wise, description-wise, but the same essential story, which is why I believe the scriptures are the truth. Something happened these thousands of years ago where God came down and gave or died for our sins. However you want to word it, in whatever language, whatever culture it was. I'm assuming it happened 2,000 years ago. Could happen way before that, because we are a culture, or a species rather, that is over 200,000 years old, and we only have about 12,000 years of history. So this could have happened way before we were wiped out in the past, before this last ice age. Something could have gone on. Also, as above, so below, and as below, so above. It's good. I make weird eyebrows. Also be a greater celestial story. Greater story of the cosmos. Especially with Genesis and creation, but a lot of the stuff that comes in the scriptures, I believe, are stories that we can understand in the kind of personified view, characters and people. But I think it's a greater story of a lot more. Can't prove it, but that's just my gut feeling. So here we go. The call of Abram. The Lord said to Abram, "Leave your native country, your relatives, and your father's family, and go to the land that I will show you. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you and make you famous, and you will be a blessing to others. I will bless those who bless you, and curse those who treat you with contempt. All the families on the earth will be blessed through you." All the families on the earth. Very nice. So Abram departed as the Lord had instructed, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran. He took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, and all of his wealth, his livestock, all the people that he had taken into his household of Haran, and headed for the land of Canaan, perhaps. Terrible, these names. When they arrived in Canaan, Abraham traveled through the land as far as Shechem. There he set up a camp beside the oak of Moreh. At that time, the area was inhabited by the Canaanites. Then the Lord appeared to Abram and said, "I will give this land to your descendants." And Abram, did I say Abraham? And Abram built an altar there and dedicated it to the Lord, who had appeared to him. After that, Abram traveled south and set up camp into the hill country, with Bethel to the west and Ai to the east, where he built another altar and dedicated it to the Lord, and he worshipped the Lord. Then Abram continued traveling south by stages towards Negev. So, Abram's traveling. I try to look for the hidden messages, but New Living Translation doesn't have a lot of that. You go to like the King James Version, some of the words have a stronger meaning in a different sense. Oh, on that. Well, fruit fly. These things are everywhere in Texas. I see you. Or even there's other translations that I'm still waiting on my George Lamb's Bible to come in. Ordered it like 2 months ago. Back order. Christian books. Okay. Abram and Sarai in Egypt. At that time, a severe famine struck the land of Canaan, forcing Abram to go down to Egypt, where he lived as a foreigner. He was approaching the border of Egypt. Abram said to his wife Sarai, "Look, you are a very beautiful woman. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'This is his wife. Let's kill him. Then we can have her. So please, so please tell them you are my sister. Then they will spare my life and treat me well because of their interest in you.'" Smart move. And sure enough, when Abram arrived in Egypt, everyone noticed Sarai's beauty. When the palace officials saw her, they sang her praises to Pharaoh, their king, and Sarai was taken into the palace. Then Pharaoh gave Abram many gifts because of her: sheep, goats, cattle, male and female, donkeys, male and female, servants, and camels. But the Lord sent terrible plagues upon Pharaoh and his household because of Sarai, Abram's wife. So Pharaoh summoned Abram and accused him sharply. "What have you done to me?" he demanded. "Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister and allow me to take her as my wife? Now then, here is your wife. Take her and get out of here." Pharaoh ordered some of his men to escort them. He sent Abram out of the country along with his wife and all of his possessions. My rating is not the best, because I'm looking at scripture notes and it's very distracting. So I miss commas. So why did he lie? We know why he lied. But what is the message there? I suppose those people, no, they didn't hold him in contempt, or they, and that's when God said he'll curse those. I don't know. Very interesting. Abram and Lot separate. Chapter 13. So Abram left Egypt, traveled north into Negev, along with his wife and Lot, and all they owned. Abram was very rich in livestock, silver, and gold. From Negev, they continued traveling by stages toward Bethel, and they pitched their tents between Bethel and Ai, where they had camped before. This was the same place where Abram had built the altar, and there he worshipped the Lord again. Lot, who was traveling with Abram, had also become very wealthy with flocks of sheep and goats, herds of cattle, and many tents. But the land could not support both Abram and Lot with their flocks and herds of living so close together. No comment there. So disputes broke out between the herdsmen of Abram and Lot. And at the time, the Canaanites and the Perizzites, 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 we're also living in the land. So you got all these people, all these cattle and livestock. If it's all they own, and the city's very wealthy, it's probably been a ton. Like, yeah. So of course, people are gonna fight. What's the old saying? Good fences make good neighbors. That's normal human behavior. I wonder where Bethel and Ai are. Finally, Abram said to Lot, "Let us not allow this conflict to come between us or our herdsmen. After all, we are close relatives. The whole countryside is open to you. Take your choice of any section of land you want, and we will separate. If you want the land to the left, I'll take the land to the right. If you prefer the land on the right, then I will go to the left." Lot took a long look at the fertile plains of the Jordan Valley in the direction of Zoar. The whole area was well watered everywhere, like the garden of the Lord or the beautiful land of Egypt. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So water everywhere in the land of Egypt. This must have been, I know the Nile does flood and the land becomes very fertile. And I know there's water erosion on the Sphinx and the pyramids, and there's obviously evidence that was all lush jungle, a lot of it around there. I don't know how far back that was though. Lot chose for himself the whole Jordan Valley to the east of them. He went there with his flocks and servants and parted company with Uncle Abram. So Abram settled in the land of Canaan. And Lot moved his tents to a place near Sodom and settled among the cities of the plain. But the people of this area were extremely wicked and constantly sinned against the Lord. After Lot had gone, the Lord said to Abram, "Look as far as you can see in every direction, north and south and east and west. I am giving you all this land, as far as you can see, to your descendants as a permanent possession." Descendants has an asterisk. 13, 15. Hebrew seed would be the descendants. Go and walk through the land in every direction, for I am giving it to you. So Abram moved his camp to Hebron and settled near the oak tree belonging to Mamre. There he built another altar to the Lord. Okay. Well, okay, let's continue on. Chapter 14. Abram rescues Lot. About this time, war broke out in the region. King Amraphel of Babylonia, King Arioch of Elasar, and King Kedorlaomer of Elam, and King Tidal of Goim fought against King Bera of Sodom, King Bersha of Gomorrah, King Shinab of Admah, King Shemaber of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, also called Zoar. The second group of kings joined forces in Siddim Valley, that is the valley of the Dead Sea. For 12 years, they had been subject to King Kedorlaomer. But in the 13th year, they rebelled against him. The 13th year, you say? Probably some numerology something or other in there. Perhaps. Going back to the last part. I mean, Abram and Lot separated. I don't know. Let's continue on. A lot of this history stuff, or story part of it, kind of goes over my head in a sense that it's a great story to read, but the esoteric parts of it, I'm not really connecting with. So we might finish up a little bit more of Genesis and then jump on somewhere else. Anyways, 1 year later, Kedorlaomer and his allies arrived and defeated the Rephaites at Ashtaroth Karnaim, and the Zuzites at Ham, the Emites at Sheve Kirithaim, and the Horites at Mount Seir. We can just make some clips of me just pronouncing these names. I tell you what. As far as El Paran, the edge of the wilderness. Then they turned back and came to En Mishpat, now called Kadesh, and conquered all the territory of the Amalekites and also the Amorites living in Zazon Tamar. Then the rebel kings of Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and Bela, also called Zor, prepared for battle in the valley of the Dead Sea. They fought against all the aforementioned kings with the crazy names. 4 kings against 5. As it happened, the valley of the Dead Sea was filled with tar pits. And as the army of the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, some of them fell into the tar pits, while the rest escaped into the mountains. The victorious invaders then plundered Sodom and Gomorrah and headed for home, taking with all their spoils of war and food supplies. They also captured Lot, Abram's nephew, who lived in Sodom, and carried off everything he owned. But one of Lot's men escaped and reported everything to Abram the Hebrew, who lived near the oak grove belonging to Mamre the Amorite. Mamre and his relatives, Eshol and Aner, were Abram's allies. When Abram heard that his nephew Lot had been captured, he mobilized 318 trained men that had been born into his household, and he pursued Kedorlaomer's army until he caught up with them at Dan. There he divided the men and attacked during the night. Kedorlaomer's army fled, but Abram chased them as far as Hobah, north of Damascus. Abram recovered all the goods that had been taken, and he brought back his nephew Lot with all his possessions and all the women and other captives. So he saved him. Okay. 318 trained men. That is a very specific number. Doesn't ring a bell any crazy frequencies or numbers that I know. So Melchizedek blesses Abram. After Abram returned from his victory over Kedorlaomer and his allies, the king of Sodom, went out to meet him in the valley of Sheve, that is the king's valley. And Melchizedek, the king of Salem, and priest of God Most High, brought Abram some bread and wine. Melchizedek blessed Abram with his blessings. Blessed be Abram by God the Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and blessed be the God Most High, who has defeated your enemies for you. Then Abram gave Melchizedek 1/10 of all the goods he had recovered. So the tithe, typical tithe. You know, the church gets a lot of grief for tithing. You know, you want to say maybe you're giving all your money to the church, and there are a lot of mega churches that take advantage of people. And also declare themselves charities, 501c3 charities. A lot of churches you go to aren't actual churches. They give up their rights as a church to the government for tax purposes. So you kind of sell your soul for money. But tithing is still important as for, it goes back to giving back to, nature, or obviously giving back to God is very important. But you have to, recycle some of your crops back into the ground, put the nutrients back in the ground. You're tithing, you're burning all that, and you put the ashes back into your soil. You're burning stuff at the altar. That all that stuff has to be repurposed, and it's kind of an important aspect of ancient agriculture, I guess. But also, you're giving back to the community as far as money. It's not a bad thing. And the church does work for free, a lot of it, so they depend on the tithe. Your tithe, perhaps. I don't know. And big donations. Tax write-off. Well, it's a lot of... It all comes down to money. It sucks. It's a tool, it's a source of energy, but it sucks that we're so dependent on it. So the king of Sodom said to Abram, "Give back my people who were captured, but you may keep for yourself all the goods you have recovered." Abram replied to the king of Sodom, "I solemnly swear to the Lord, God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, that I will not take so much as a single thread or sandal thong from what belongs to you. Otherwise, you might say, I am the one who made Abram rich. I will accept only what my young warriors have already eaten, and I request that you give a fair share of the goods to my allies, Aner, Eshel, and Marmer." Okay, so we're going to stop there. The next part is the Lord's covenant promise to Abram. That's where I believe it becomes Abraham, alright? We'll continue that next week. Oh, no, 2 more chapters. Abram is named Abraham, chapter 17. Okay, so that's it for today. Very interesting, according to my analysis. Sometimes you read the word and you just get like a nice refresher. You just get like a information you probably forgot before. I've read the Bible quite a bit, and there's stories and characters, and all those names that are lost on me, but it's just I don't know. It's definitely, it's easy to understand, the New Living Translation. I'd say it's 6th grade reading level. I don't know why people need somebody to translate it for them. You might have added context that I don't necessarily think applies. Maybe the way they do stuff is why they did this, and I don't know. I think it's still a good piece of literature in the sense where it's fun to read, fun to try to pronounce names. And it's cool to see how these characters develop and how things come to be that we all take for granted, I guess. I don't know. Well, there it is, your Wednesday Bible study. Like and subscribe if you're still watching. I do go on Twitch every so often, but that's about it. So have a good night. Have a good day. Night. I will see you next time.